What's up, Cricket Rockstar Nation? We are nearly at the end of February, and not just that alone, we are near the business end of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, which is happening in India and Sri Lanka, which means the Super 8s are currently ongoing. The Group 1 matches are happening in India, which features the defending champions, the home team themselves, runners-up South Africa, two-time champions West Indies, and Zimbabwe, who qualified out of Group B at the expense of Australia, while the Group 2 matches, which are happening in Sri Lanka, pits the non-undefeated teams, which includes the co-hosts themselves, the Sri Lankans, two-time winners England, 2009 champions Pakistan, and 2021 runners-up New Zealand. Originally, the Super 8 was supposed to start Saturday in Pallekele, which is in Kandy, involving Pakistan and New Zealand, but unfortunately torrential downpours meant that the match between the two teams had to be abandoned without a ball being bowled just a few hours after Pakistan had won the toss and had elected to bat first. Now, with that said, both teams do share a point each, which means their campaign is well and truly alive. The good thing about the abandonment involving New Zealand and Pakistan is both teams share a point, which makes it quite tough on the home team Sri Lanka. Why I'm saying this is because their first match of the Super 8 against England was a complete disappointment. Sri Lanka had won the toss and had put England into bat, and people might have said it was a smart move, which was correct first of all, as the Pallekele pitch looked a bit tacky and a bit slow. And for a while, the Sri Lankan bowlers, especially Dinit Welagale, was absolutely phenomenal. Welagale had figures of 3 wickets for 26, making Harry Brook and Josh Buttler look like if they were playing amateur cricket. England's batting, just like in the other matches in the recently concluded group stage, wasn't good enough again. And had it wasn't for Phil Salt and the extras that the Sri Lankans had conceded towards England, England wouldn't have gotten near 150 runs on the board, as Salt hit a gritty one-day type innings of 62 or 40 deliveries. England did finish on 146 for the loss of 9, and on any other day in a T20 World Cup Super 8 match or in any T20 match on the whole, you would be thinking that Sri Lanka would have this match wrapped up and in the bag, and 147 would have been a cakewalk. Well, let me tell you all this, folks. It was the same old bilateral series version of Sri Lanka, which was on show. As the second half of the innings, they had lost 5 wickets for 34 in the power play. Imagine that, 5 for 34. Patam Nasanka, Mishara, Kushal Mendes, gone in a flash, and it wasn't great bowling at all from England half the time. But on the whole, it was dismal batting from a side that did exceptionally well in the group stage. Jofra Archer and Will Jacks. I'm speaking of the all-rounder Jacks now. He was the star of the day for England. These two ripped out the top order of the Sri Lankans, and from there was no coming back for the Sri Lankans as they capitulated for, guess what, 95. Yes, only 95, folks. And here's another interesting fact, folks. That's 12 consecutive T20 victories now for England over Sri Lanka. And also listen to this. England are now sitting pretty much at the top of the table in Group 2 with a massive net run rate of 2.550, which is in the plus. They are looking like favourites for the semi-finals as we speak, while Sri Lanka is officially in must-win or go-home territory. And here's the other interesting point. It doesn't get any easier for the co-hosts as their next 2 matches, they lock horns with New Zealand and then Pakistan, which is going to be extremely tough. And it's just another reminder, folks, this was the same Sri Lankan side just a month ago defeated Pakistan to draw level the T20 series in Sri Lanka. But this time around, it's a full-strength Pakistan team which has a strong spin attack, and it's going to be a battle with the strong spin attack and the strong batting lineup. Speaking of home teams, India, who was undefeated right throughout the group stage, was given a reality check by the South Africans as South Africa defeated the hosts by 76 runs in the first Super 8 stage match for Group 1. And let me also say this, it wasn't just a huge defeat for India, it was a huge net run rate catastrophe in what must be termed as a grudge match, because the last time the two teams faced each other in an ICC tournament event, India had won the men's T20 World Cup final at the Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados by 9 runs. That was on the 29th of May, the 29th of June 2024 in Barbados. The men in blue had the Proteas staring down the barrel at one stage at 20 for the loss of 3 in the 4th over, as Jasprit Bumrah was doing boom Bumrah things with his magic seam bowling, whether it was in swingers, out swingers, off cutters, leg cutters, slower deliveries, you name it. He was causing magic all over the place. He took out the cock, and then too, Arshdeep Singh was swinging it in and out. And I thought to myself at one stage, South Africa wasn't getting anywhere near 150 plus. But then came David Miller, aka Killer Miller, and with him was his partner in crime, Delwal Brevis, aka Baby ABD, as the two of them showed why it mattered the most. Or should I say, the two of them showed up when it had mattered the most. That 97-run partnership for the 4th wicket not only brought the South Africans right back into the match, but also put the Indians under immense pressure, especially with the dangerous spin attack India has in the likes of Varun Chakrabarti, Washington Sundar, who came in for Akshar Patel, and I think Kuldeep Yadav as well, if I'm not mistaken. But questions have to be asked. Why did India leave out Akshar Patel and went in for another all-round spin option in Washington Sundar, who could also really bat as well anywhere in the batting lineup when needed? But then here's the facts now. Washington Sundar didn't play any T20s since getting injured in the one-day series against New Zealand just a month back. But in all honesty, the final nails in the coffin for India in the match came when Hardik Pandya conceded 20 runs in the final over of the first innings to Tristan Stubbs, and that wasn't all. The Indian batting lineup, which has been under heavy criticism from their own media since the start of the tournament, with the exception of Ishan Kishan, failed on the day. Speaking of Ishan Kishan, he failed. He was a disappointment. So was Abhishek Sharma once again. Even Tilak Verma failed for once, as the men in blue capitulated very early on as their top order were dismissed in the power play. Marco Jansen was breathing like fire. He had 4 wickets on the night, as he looked like a 7-foot-tall bowler who was hitting the deck very hard. Every time India tried building partnership, they played nothing shots. Sky himself had a disappointment all wrong, with the exception of those 2 games against the United States of America and arch rivals Pakistan. In this game against South Africa, he only made 5 runs. Shivan Dubey was the only one who got it out with 42. But he was stranded in the end, as India were dismissed for 111. With that defeat, India are basically in all sorts of trouble, as their net run rate is at a negative 3.80. And if that's bad enough, they must win its next 2 games against Zimbabwe and West Indies handsomely to get into the semis. And let me tell you one thing, they have to do it comprehensively, because winning 2 out of the 3 to get into the semi-finals, especially in the Super 8s, would be very difficult, especially with the net run rate coming into play. South Africa, on the other hand, they are riding high at the moment. That's because their net run rate is at a plus 3.80. And their next 2 matches against West Indies and Zimbabwe are also vital. And let me tell you right now, the West Indies-South Africa game on Thursday is going to virtually decide which one out of the 3 sides will get into the last 4. Remember when I said before this year's ICC Men's T20 World Cup that the West Indies may not make it out of the group stage? They truly proved me wrong there by going undefeated. Now, after the first match of the Super 8, them alongside South Africa are still the undefeated teams in the competition. West Indies have gone 5 from 5. as they handed Zimbabwe its first defeat of the tournament. And who would have thought that Zimbabwe would have reached the second round? No one really gave them a chance one bit to get past Australia, which they did easily in an all-round team effort. That game against Ireland, which was washed out, that certified their place into the Super 8, and no one gave them a chance as well to get past Sri Lanka, a team that they have had trouble getting past in the past. And let me tell you something, to get past a red-hot Sri Lanka took guts from the chevrons. And up till now, the chevrons from Southern Africa, they were given a reality wake-up call today. They were brought down to earth in a hard way. But we really need to talk about Shimron Hetmyer, because this T20 World Cup has officially seen the birth of Hetty 2.0. I mean, 85 runs of 34 deliveries with 5 boundaries and 7 maximums. That's what you call unreal from someone who has been criticized on numerous occasions in the past for playing recklessly, just like with Nicholas Puran, who no longer plays internationals. And let me tell you all something. They play with a lot of freedom and always inform in franchise cricket, or should I say league cricket. But when it comes to international cricket, that's a different ball game altogether, because internationals, you have to be more focused, unlike the franchise cricket where you make a lot of money. But let me just say this. So far, Hetmyer is having a brilliant campaign, as he is second on the run scorers list behind Pakistan's Zahizadran Farhan, who, mind you, is having a stellar run at the moment for the Pakistanis. But we're not here to talk about Pakistan. There were times where Hetmyer got carried away, especially when he was on 9 and 70 when he was dropped. And it wasn't just him alone that was causing all the trouble and the carnage. Rovman Powell too was causing havoc. His 59 of 35 deliveries in quick time helped him play the supporting hand to Hetmyer. And just when Zimbabwe thought the nightmare was over, out came Shafane Rutherford and Romario Shepherd to pile on more excitement for the fans. 254 runs on the board. That's the second highest ever total in the history of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. The men in maroon almost caught up to Sri Lanka's 260 for 6 that the Sri Lankans made from the inaugural edition in 2007 against Kenya at the Wanderers, which was almost 19 years ago. And the intent was there from ball one. And here's a very interesting stat, folks. Now, a lot of people have been bashing West Indies in the past over its dot ball percentage. Only 34 dot balls was conceded by West Indies in this game. Can you believe it? Now, Zimbabwe, when they came out to bat, was no match whatsoever for Akil Hussain. As his second over, he bowled a double wicket maiden. He too had a quiet start to the tournament, getting just 1 wicket game after game, and his figures of 3 wickets for 28 today, or should I say yesterday against Zimbabwe, goes to show why he's still one of the best left-arm spinners in the T20 format. And we aren't just finished talking about left-arm spin, as there's another one who is also top class as well, and I'm talking about Goda Keshmoti, who was the real chief destroyer on the day for the men in maroon. 4 wickets for 28, and this was a guy just a few months ago before the T20 World Cup. He was left out of the West Indies team as he had lost his form and rhythm, but ever since he came back into the West Indies team, he has reinvented his game alongside taking big wickets and vital intervals, and he has been doing it since his return. He had those Zimbabwean batters looking like those who are coming up the ranks and are getting out recklessly. Even Brad Evans was Zimbabwe's top scorer, who played a brave little cameo, making a fiery 43 of 21 deliveries. But the game was long wrapped up by the West Indies. And I'm going to say this right now. It wasn't just a one-man show nor a 2.5-man show. Everyone played their part. Look at the West Indies net run rate currently. They're at the top of the table with the same number of points with South Africa. But look at the NRR, which is the net run rate. It is at plus 5.35. And by the looks of it, the defending champions and host India will have an uphill battle to try and leapfrog favourites South Africa or West Indies, who, mind you, as I said before the competition, were a long shot. And I'm so pleased to see the men in maroon coming good at the right time. And hopefully it continues to go like this for the rest of the campaign. So let's just keep our fingers crossed for that, folks. And with all of that being said, that's going to do it for this edition of the Cricket Rockstar Show. Remember to follow me on all of my social media platforms. Take care, and just remember, be good, be cool, stay frosty, and most importantly, and this is the last part that I'm going to say, hate is not going to get anybody anywhere. Why I'm saying this is because violence is not the answer. And that's where I'm going to wrap it up, folks. Love is where the heart is. Hate will not get anyone anywhere. Take care for now.